Hi, so I recently came across Attack on Titan and I just rewatched all of the seasons again. I was actually surprised of how everything unfolded. And I know I'm kind of like few years off to make this video, but this is one of the greatest animes ever made. I think it deserves a video as well. Very underrated. Even for nowadays, I don't think Attack on Titan is talked about enough. I really think it's one of the best animes there is, if it's not the best. But let's get into it. I'm just gonna go walk you through my opinion on Attack on Titan from season one all the way to the final season, the end, and how everything unfolds basically. I think definitely the best seasons, in my opinion, are season one and season two. Even though the animation, sometimes I found was very like slow pace. It looked like slideshows. I don't know if that was like normal for when that was released, but just I think the story carried the animation a lot first two seasons. I know which each season the animation kept getting better and better. So our main character, Eren, we can see that he wants to do his will, right? He wants to do what he wants. He has two companions, so Mikasa and Armin, which are like his best friends. They played an important role in a dynamic throughout the whole show on how they interact with each other and how does that affect people. And there's a bit of a shock to me, and I'll talk about it at the end of the video with two of those characters. But anyway, moving forward, we see how their whole life just changes because of an attack of a titan. That's pretty much how season one unfolds very fast, actually. This show is very brutal in the way how they show these people getting eaten alive, and it's very graphic, I would say. Definitely, I think rewatching it, I was kind of like, wow, I didn't remember this being this bloody and stuff. So we move forward. Eren's mom gets eaten by a titan. His dad, it's dead. I don't think he remembers how at that point. It's very blurry, it's very fast, and then we kind of like do some time skips now and then till we got to training arc. They want to become scouts, or they want to not become the scouts, but they want to fight titans, right? So they go into training to become like military, right? Something like that. In this training, they meet what will become the rest of the cast throughout the next seasons, right? So they meet Raina, they meet Annie, they meet a lot of characters which will be important later seasons, right? I think this is when you start to kind of like connect a lot with Eren to his goal and how he drives all his peers towards what he wants or inspires at least. And so we see that this repeats itself many times. We move forward to their next encounter with Titans. Eren gets eaten by a Titan the first time that he fights one, right? It was very shocking because I didn't remember that was how he ended up becoming a Titan. He just got eaten, and then everybody was like, what happened? And for me, I think first time watching that, I would say, does that mean that this is how it ends? Like I was like, well, he dead, right? No, he was not dead. He saved his friend Armin, and then he became a Titan, which I believe he already was a Titan. He just didn't know he was, right? This is where everything changed for the main characters. It's when they realized that Titans were actually humans or being controlled by humans. We can see that from that point on, all of the humans inside of the walls start thinking different about Titans and how they can maybe use them for their own benefit, right? In the second season, the female Titan, and I think watching it for the second time, I believe it was so obvious. I think that actually the female Titan resembles Annie so much like the actual Titan. I was not really even surprised when we found out that it was Annie the whole time. It was a nice fights, to be honest, with the scouts trying to protect Eren from the female Titan in the woods. Humans within the walls realized that they had traitors within their own people, to see that things might not be as they seem from the beginning. At the end of season two, I believe she was defeated, but she became like a crystal thingy. And I think season three it's really a step up in like a lot of like animation in this anime. That's when we see the Beast Titan appear. We see how that's how we see Raina and Bertolt, which were Eren's friends. Or Raina tells Eren that they were the Attack Titan and the Colossal Titan, which destroy their homes and kill Eren's mom. And that was very like weird. I feel like that caught me off guard. I was like not expecting that, and I didn't really see hints of that, to be honest, appearing on the show. But I let it slide just because the action really was so good. After that, they fought. I think Eren actually won, but then Bertolt just came down, and they kind of 2v1 him and got him. And at the end, it repeats a lot itself that Eren gets caught, and then the scouts has or Mikasa and Armin has to go and save him or retreat him back. Since later we find out that he's actually the founder's time, that he's important for the interests of the people outside of the walls. That's why they try to get to him. That's why he's important. He's the key to humanity. And this is, I feel like, foreshadow when his dad gives him a key, which later will reveal the truth about humanity outside of the walls. This is really like changes a lot of things, and it's really, I feel like this is one of my favorite things about Attack on Titan, how you get so immersed in this world and you're learning with them as they go. I feel like, at least from my point of view, before the final seasons of season 4, I was all the way on like Eren's side, and like they were victims in this case of people outside of the walls. And we get to season 4, or the final season, part 1. At this point, we know about the existence of the Beast Titan, which we saw at the end getting defeated by Levi at the end of season 3. Armin eats Bertolt and becomes the Colossal Titan, right? So they now have two Titans. So we go to the final season, and we see here new characters. We see these kids, right? We see how they train, how they do military missions for their people, right? For their country. Then we see that the whole point is so they can come as clean and not longer devils. Basically, they can be treated with respect by society they live in. That's why they're doing this, basically, and there are the ones that will inherit the Armor Titan and the Beast Titan eventually. But we see one of the best episodes on the whole Attack on Titan is when we saw that Eren Jaeger was already there outside of Paradis Island, which is the island inside of the walls. They already infiltrated outside of the walls into Marley, and then we can see how he transformed into a Titan, basically redoing what happened years ago in his hometown, now in the enemy's territory. He gets his revenge, and we can see how it unfolds in what will become a war. They fight. He gets to eat the Hammer Titan. We realize that Eren was behind all of this. Even his friends are not understanding Eren anymore. We start to see a conflict within interest of the main characters. We see how it shifted, right? It's no longer just about killing Titans anymore, but it becomes political. It becomes something else entirely. We see how he basically betrays, in a way, Paradis. He does his own kind of alliance within the walls so that he can basically erase all of humanity but people in Paradis Island. That's what we believe that he wanted, right? And then he aligned with his half brother, which was actually the Beastian, Zeke, in order to achieve this. But what Zeke wanted was to basically stop the descendants of Ymir to have babies, basically. And Eren kind of like goes along with his plan because he needs him. He needs his half brother in order to unlock true power of the Founder's Titan. He gets his will, and he and his brother become the Founder's Titan. They unlock the power, and then that's when we see this shift Eren's plan, and then he was just doing it to betray his half brother, but then his half brother kind of turns against him as well. But then he talks to Emir, right? And then this is where I was like, wait a minute. Emir was a girl all this time. She's a little girl, right? Just wandering there in the Titan space. When Eren talks to her, she basically aligns with Eren because of who knows what. And he unlocks what's called the rumbling, or basically all of the colossal titans within the walls just wake up, and he becomes in this massive skeleton titan, and they just start walking towards the outside of the paradise island to basically erase all of humanity. Sounds very crazy. At that point his friends basically are trying to stop Eren, and we kind of see those two sides of the coin, right? We see that the people who support Eren and want what's just best for the interests of Paradis people within the walls. And we can see, and I would say me included, most of the people aligned with his friends, we just want a more peaceful way to solve things, just not wanting to erase everyone. They end up realizing that Eren planned all along, everything in a way. That's why he never did not stop them from becoming titans. That's why he allowed them basically to stop him, because he was able to see the future, and we can see how he saw everything long time ago, how everything was gonna unfold, and we can see how we get this kind of redemption of Eren in a way. I feel like it was very I wanna say forced, but this all happens after he basically nearly destroyed billions of people, or you know how many people he killed, innocent people as well, right? So he basically ended up becoming what he hated the most. We can see at the end how he had like this talk with Armin, telling him how everything was gonna unfold and why everything had to happen that way. I don't know, it just seems kinda odd. It feels like they're justifying the fact that they just kill everyone. It was kinda crazy at the end, I would say. In the end, Eren did what he wanted. He nearly wiped out everyone. And then at the end, it was all because of the power of love. That's how Attack on Titan ended up, basically. I was not expecting that, to be honest, because I kinda got that from the flashbacks from Ymir with the king, because nobody realized why does she only obeys the king or the royal blood, and it was not because of something mysterious, but just because she was in love with the king. She chose Mikasa because she was willing to basically avoid her feelings to do what was right, which was to kill Eren. That's how it unfolded. She killed Eren in the end, something that Ymir couldn't do in her time. On Eren's side, never saw that he really had feelings for Mikasa, to be honest. He was usually not, going that way as much. It was obvious for Mikasa, of course. I really just realized it at the end, I think, that they both were kind of like in love. In We saw how that would have ended in a different way if Eren would have chose to stay with Mikasa instead of pursuing these whole goals. I think Attack on Titan really changed how animes should be done correctly in a way, animation wise, especially. The pace was amazing, amazing characters all around. It really gives us a message. We can see at the end also that even though the Titans stop coming, people still fight and they still kill each other. Doesn't matter if there are Titans or not. So the message I get from this is basically we will always fight each other. Doesn't matter how. Attack on Titan definitely changed my vision of anime. I would say even till this day, it's one of the greatest animes ever made, and that's why I think Attack on Titan is the best anime ever made. That's it for now. I will hope this video is not too long. Thank you for watching. Until next one.